You are listening to Hashtag Impact, a podcast about stuff that matters. I am Regina Larco, your host, and in this end of the year special, I am reflecting on the impact this podcast made on our guests, our listeners, and on me. Later, I'm also revisiting one of the most precious and powerful recordings I did all the way back in spring 2017. It impacted me greatly, and so many of the learnings from that recording are so relevant for anyone trying to make an impact with their work. So that's a little present to you, and you will get it in a short while. Maybe you find a quiet moment to listen in over the holiday season. What I hope it will inspire you to do is to reflect on your own journey. Reflect on the things you did achieve in the past, the things you accomplished, the impact you made. We hardly ever give ourselves credit for what we achieved already, always hustling and trying to reach that next goal, that next milestone, grow our impact, scale our reach. This time of the year, I think, is perfect to hit pause, even if just for a few days, even if just for a moment, and just be. Be grateful for where you are at in this very moment, not comparing yourself to others and their amazing achievements, but celebrating your own. I will do that, and I think you should too. So I actually have some ideas for you how you can do that and how you can measure your impact, your achievements. So write down some numbers. For example, how many people have you served over this last year? Or how many people have you served ever since you launched your organization? Or, if you're not running your own organization, just think about meaningful connections that you have made that had an impact on you. Quantify this impact. So here are some of our Hashtag Impact numbers. Since Hashtag Impact launched in spring 2017, we put out 4 seasons of Hashtag Impact podcast. That's 100 plus episodes and 70 plus hours on air for social good. We featured 60 plus impact organizations, nonprofits, social enterprises, startups, but also individuals. And we supported the featured organizations to get more exposure, find volunteers and donors. We connected them with each other so they could scale their impact. On a more personal note, for me, I mentored and introduced 5 co-hosts on Hashtag Impact podcast, as well as supported many new podcasters inside and outside of Hong Kong to get their show off the ground. I gave workshops at schools to teach kids how to become better storytellers too, what I really enjoyed. Since 2017, I also co-hosted and launched a new podcast series with Asia's online media powerhouse Green Queen, the Zero Waste Journey podcast. So you should definitely look out for that one. And if you haven't listened, then make sure to subscribe. I'm also just about to launch a new show that's called Off the Record, Podcasting with Impact in spring 2020. Besides these numbers, I am collecting feedback from our community. I collect little notes from former guests that are too private to share publicly, but I put them in a folder on my desktop that I call Hashtag Impact is making an impact, and I go back to that folder when I need a motivation boost. Maybe this is something you want to try out too. No matter how little or small, it could be little moments, a little message someone sent you that made you smile. Take a screenshot and put that in a folder somewhere so you can easily go back to that and just get that spark of energy. For me, it's incredibly powerful. And having these little reminders of my work being valued and appreciated gives me actually even more motivation than any numbers could. When I read how I could empower people to gain more confidence about their own story, about their own voice, finding courage to speak up, or how I simply inspired someone to start listening to podcasts and how they got so much out of it. I love when listeners share that they found organizations to start volunteering with after they listened to our episodes. And if I hear how a purpose-driven founder got some new clients because I shared their story on #impact, it just makes my day. When listeners take the time and leave a review for our show on Apple Podcasts, it makes me so happy too. And maybe you also want to leave me a note, either on Apple if you're listening there, or just leave a review on our Facebook page at facebook.com/impact. One of our listeners from France shared their favorite part about the #impact episodes. He wrote, "My favorite part is definitely when the speakers share how they started. After all, they are not superheroes, but people like you and I. This podcast is great to remind us that everyone can have an impact, whether it is global or local." So that's the impact of #impact, and there is a lot ahead for 2020. As we are wrapping up season 4, and we still do have 2 more awesome stories to share with you in the new year, so watch out for these ones. But at the same time, we are already in deep planning for season 5. It will be our most global season yet, and it's themed around the Sustainable Development Goals, with 4 co-hosts joining in from Berlin, Sydney, Seoul, and Hong Kong, and you'll meet them very soon. I'm so excited about it. Looking back at 2019, one of my proudest achievements, besides, of course, seeing my 4-year-old and my 1.5-year-old daughters grow up to be really kind, funny, and smart little girls, must be the launch of my podcasting online course. I put so much love and hard work, all my knowledge, all my experience in it to empower others to get their voices heard too on their own podcast. The first students are just enrolling, and it's been absolutely amazing to work with aspiring podcasters all over the globe and support them to turn their vision into reality. I cannot wait to support more people and guide them on their exciting podcasting journey so that they don't have to spend 5 hours a day to get their podcast off the ground like I did back in 2017, but that they could achieve the same results and find their podcast success with spending 3 hours a week working through that course. I'm so proud of what I built, and giving those people the mentorship and also the encouragement and guidance that they need to start a podcast that makes an impact. If you ever hear of anyone wanting to start a podcast, just send them my way. You can find more information about this mentorship program at #impact.com/courses. And now, as promised, here's your present. Sit back and enjoy as I revisit my recording with one of the most inspirational impact founders that I had the pleasure to record with in the very early days of #impact. All the way back in spring 2017, I sat down with Clean the World founder Sean Seipler. There are so many great nuggets in this conversation about resilience, about scaling impact, about entrepreneurship, about not being ashamed to sell your impact idea, and to always keep improving, learning, and growing. I take all his advice to heart, and Clean the World have scaled their impact globally since we last spoke. For our listeners in Hong Kong, you are in for a treat, because Clean the World has an amazing and very dedicated team here in our city as well, led by the inside and out beautiful Gineth Tan Murphy. So if you ever look for a way to give back and donate your time or skills, you should definitely check out Clean the World Asia at cleantheworldasia.org. So, here's to an exciting 2020 ahead. Thank you all so much for following the #impact journey. I appreciate you so, so much. Today I speak with Sean Seibler, founder and CEO of Clean the World. His idea to turn trash into treasure saves lives. I actually want to start with a little entry I found in your blog, Sean, and I read about the positive result of a program you just ran in Kenya. And there I could read, "We are on the right track with Clean the World's mission. Thousands of kids are now healthier because of our work. For many, this program might be a turning point in their lives. And for us, it shows just how impactful soap can be." Welcome, Sean. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you, Regina. I'm very happy to be here and to share the Clean the World story with your listeners.
First of all, we want to find out more. Tell us a bit more about Clean the World and how this exciting adventure actually started.
Well, Clean the World is a global social enterprise that started about 8 years ago under this whole idea that out of our hotels globally around the world, when guests stay in a hotel and they use the soap and the bottled amenities, when they're done with it, those items would be thrown away. So we found that there was a tremendous amount of waste with respect to these items. And at the same time, every day across the globe, there are thousands of children that are dying to pneumonia and diarrheal disease, the number one and number two leading cause of death amongst children worldwide. So we created this organization with a very simple concept to take the used soaps and bottled amenities from hotels, recycle those items, and then send them to children, families all over the world who in so many cases were literally dying because of a lack of proper hygiene. You mentioned the Kenya program. We had a 9-month program in Kenya. And in this 9-month, 4,000 school children, we saw a 55% reduction in cases of diarrheal disease. Now, bear in mind that diarrheal disease and pneumonia kill almost 6,000 children a day. But in this... A day. And every study out there shows that if we just give those children soap and we teach them how and when to wash their hands, that we could cut those deaths in half. So in that specific Kenya program, not only did we see a 55% reduction in the cases of diarrheal disease, but we saw a 45% increase in school attendance. So not only were children and their mothers and their families getting sick less often, but it was leading to the children going to school and not dropping out and getting further education. So it's really an incredible outcome. And all of that soap that we handed those kids was recycled from soap that would have been thrown away. So it was landfill diverted through this program. So it's really a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario at Clean the World.
I read somewhere, no, I didn't read it. I saw one of your amazing videos. You should all go check out. There are a couple of videos, a couple of interviews with you. And in one of those interviews, I heard one of the first batches of soap you did was actually done in your kitchen or in your garage? Or how were these very, very first days of Clean the World?
Yeah,
is that true?
It is true. So back in 2009, actually pre-Clean the World, I was a vice president for a global technology company. I ran a global sales team. And I was in a hotel room 4 nights a week and realized that every time I traveled, I wasn't taking the soap with me and it was being thrown away. And at the same time, back then, there were 9,000 children that were dying every day to pneumonia and diarrheal disease. And of course, we could save their lives. So this really impacted me. It was just a profound sort of revelation that I had when I determined that I could take the soap, recycle it, and get it in the hands of children. So I decided to call some family members and to start a recycling center. And so I was able to, I'm half Puerto Rican, so I was able to get my Puerto Rican family members to get into a single car garage with me.
How many people were in there?
We had about 8 of us in this initial garage.
So it was packed.
It was packed. We would sit around on upside down pickle buckets with a potato peeler. We would scrape the outside of bars of soap. One of us sat on a meat grinder and would grind the soap up into a grind. And we had cookers, and we would cook the soap into a paste. Once it was a paste and it was all disinfected with the heat, we had these big wood soap molds. So imagine a big wood box. We put a layer of wax paper down. We put the paste on the wax paper, and then we put another layer of wax paper, put a top on it, clamp it. It would dry overnight. The next day, we would get wire cutters, and we would cut the soap bars out of the wood mold. We then took those bars out, and they sat on a rack where they would cool dry for another 24 hours. And so all 8 of us working all day, we'd get like 500 bars of soap done, cooking in this garage.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a true story. The first time that the police drove by the garage, they wanted to see what we were cooking. And so they came.
They were suspicious.
They were very suspicious of Puerto Ricans cooking something in a garage. So I had that was our first tour we gave, was to the police man who decided to patrol our garage. But that's how we started. Very humble. This whole idea that we could, again, recycle soap and save lives. Very quickly, the garage got filled with soap. It was everywhere. We started having to stack it inside the house as well. And then quickly, we were able to get out of it and into an actual center.
Right. And now forward like 7-8 years into your starting this business, you are now running these production centers all over the world.
All over the world.
Not just in your garage anymore.
Yes, we're not a garage-run company anymore. Today, we're proud to have 70 global employees around the world. We have a recycling center in Orlando, Florida, one in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have one in Hong Kong. We have an office in Montreal. We have an office in Singapore. We have operations in London and in Hanover, Germany. So we truly are a global organization. We have sent 45 million bars of soap to children and families and mothers in 115 countries across the globe, and we have diverted 20 million pounds of waste, 10,000 tons of waste from landfills globally. So what started in a garage 8 years ago has now had a tremendous amount of global impact, both on the environment and from a health and hygiene perspective for those that we're giving soap to around the world.
Right. And I have to say thanks again, because I know you're just here for a couple of days, really, right? You just flew in from, where are you based usually?
Based in Orlando.
In Orlando.
In Orlando, and heading back tomorrow to Las Vegas to go meet with some partners there. But it's been a great trip. We have a tremendous number of hotel partners in the Macau Strip here, as well as in Hong Kong. We also have partners in Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, and we're expanding here in Asia. So our next goal is to open in mainland China, perhaps in Thailand and Korea soon as well. So the message is resonating with those here that, again, we can reduce landfill waste and save lives. And we come at it from a social entrepreneurial perspective. We come at it from a company that is in the business of helping others. And so that approach has also been very innovative here, but has also led to, I think, a lot of quick adoption of our program, because that's in my opinion, where the world's going. It's going to a time where people value impact. They value sustainability and green initiatives. They value social impact and helping others. And so the more they value that, the more that social enterprises and social entrepreneurship can bud, which is really key, I believe, for the future of our world.
And when you look at these scaling ambitions you have here in Asia, what are the biggest challenges you see right now?
The biggest challenges are, number one, that we want to expand, and it takes capital in order to expand. So we need capital. So then you go to, okay, we're a social enterprise. Is there an investment marketplace for social enterprise? And in Asia, it's very new. It's more developed in Europe. It started in the UK with social impact bonds. It has now, though, taken a global reach with B Corps, beneficiary corporations, and B Labs, who certifies international B Corps. And so for your listeners, a B Corp is a for-profit company that also has a mission written into its charter and its bylaws. And this is very important because in the past, in order to do good around the world, to help others, there's really been two types of entities that have done that, either the government or NGOs. And I think we all know that government cannot solve our problems and cannot always make the best decisions when it comes to helping others. And certainly NGOs are not funded enough to solve some of the world's big problems. So what happens in the middle now is corporations and private companies that are now able to go into business to help others and do good, and that's what B Corps are all about, and of course what B Labs focuses on. So that's now starting to emerge here in Asia. So I think that right now there's a lot of education that we have to provide around the value of social entrepreneurship, around the value of a for-profit company that both has clear business metrics that has to run with smart business acumen and business technique, but also has impact measurements and doing good measurements at the center and at the core of the business. So it's educating folks that those two elements, not only can they exist together, but when you bring them together, there's an explosion that can occur that really can exponentially drive impact in whatever area one is focused on. So that's one of the challenges as we continue to educate. But we've noticed that as we talk to folks, they're very receptive to what we're saying. They understand it, they get it, and I think that's another reason why we've been spreading so rapidly here in Asia.
And talking about education, I don't know if you know, but I was actually volunteering for Clean the World.
Excellent.
Asia.
Okay, very good.
So you have an amazing team here. A very modest but amazing team.
Yes, we do.
For example, Guinness Tan, who has been kind enough to invite me to join one of their workshops they did at one of the schools here in Hong Kong, where they were also going out and educate youngsters about the work that Clean the World is doing in the world.
That's right. Yeah, we have a Soap in Schools program that we have developed and have now rolled out internationally. So we are going into schools and teaching children at the right time for them to learn these habits so that they have it for the rest of their lives. The importance of hygiene, when to wash their hands, how to wash their hands. Oftentimes we have a skit that we will use to teach the children. Super soap and super water will combine and join forces in order to kill the evil germs. So it's been my pleasure to conduct that skit for children in schools in Asia, in the United States, and in schools and communities where people live on $2 a day in Honduras, in Haiti, in Guatemala, and the Philippines. And so we also have some song that goes along with it so that we can really instill the message in the minds of the children.
Because kids love music.
They love music,
yes.
and then they take it home. And it needs to go home, and really needs to get to mom, because when mothers understand and have that knowledge base, they really spread it across the village or the town or the community, the importance of washing one's hands. And so we've seen a great positive result. When we started, as I mentioned, there were 9,000 children under the age of 5 that were dying every day. Today, we're proud to say that we've reduced that death rate by more than 35%. So now it is less than 5,500 children a day. It's still a child every 15 seconds, which is a travesty. And we can eradicate these two top killers of children through hygiene. So when we go into schools and we teach the kids how and when to wash hands and the importance of it, we believe, impacting a generation that will understand the value of soap and hygiene and what it's going to mean to society.
And talking about children, you got a couple of them yourself.
I've got a couple, right? a couple times 2.5. We just had our 5th.
You just had your 5th. Oh my gosh!
Just had our 5th
Congratulations!
Child. Thank you very much.
Wow.
She's 2 months old, and
that's amazing.
My wife is very happy. She slept 10 hours last night.
No way!
In a very short period of time, she's doing what her dad likes to do, which is take a nap.
Nice.
So we're very blessed, and really our family, the love that I have for my children, the love that I have for my friends' children. That was one of the drivers when we started the organization. Was sort of felt like it was unfair that just because my kids were born to a first world family that had the resources to always have soap and hygiene and understood it. It just didn't seem fair that other children around the world who were born in communities where they make $2 a day and they have to make decisions around buying rice and buying food or buying soap. Well, soap and hygiene is at the bottom of the list. They just don't have the resources for it. So here these children are getting sick and are in pain and are hurting so unnecessarily because simply those communities can't afford, bar soap. And so that was one of the things that really drove me when we started the organization as well was, it's just not right. It's not fair. And then we're throwing away all the soap out of hotels. Let's just figure out how to get that stuff, recycle it, and get it to these children who so need it around the world.
When you were a child, what did you want to become?
When I was a child, I was heavily involved in sports. So really, I wanted to do something in sports. But really, what impacted me was my upbringing, my rearing. My father and my mother very much instilled in me the desire to want to help other people. We went to church several times a week, and so there was a moral base that I was brought up in, modeled after Jesus, where we would help the poor and help those that are in need, and there's no discrimination. It's love your neighbor as yourself. That was a major component as I grew up. And so that also translated sort of in sports, because anytime we'd be in the schoolyard and we would pick teams, I always wanted to pick on my team the worst players, those that probably would never have won had they not been on my team. I was blessed to be one of the better athletes when I grew up, but I was able to then go take sort of the bottom of the line, those that were always picked last. I picked them first. Because, number one, I wanted them to feel what it was like to win. I wanted them to compete. I wanted to challenge myself. And so there was
amazing,
always...
because it's the worst. Being picked last is just such a... I remember that.
Yeah.
Being picked last is just mean.
Yeah.
You know?
And we didn't win all the time, right? So we always were playing the next best, 4 or 5 kids. We didn't win... Maybe we only won half or less than half the time, but the times that we won, it was the most incredible feeling. It was the most incredible feeling that they had, that I had, that we were able to accomplish that. And so I've always been one that sort of has stood up to the bully. I've never liked the person that's picked on somebody else. And so I think that's translated to Clean the World and our global mission, where I see those that are dying to something unnecessary. I see it as a bully, and I really feel like we have to stand up to that bully, and we have to try to fight for those who can't otherwise do it. And so that's really one of the things that has driven the way we approach things, has driven the organization.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about your organization, I can imagine there are a lot of moments that you look back today and you get goosebumps. But is there one that really stands out for you? The most memorable moment so far, working with Clean the World?
Yeah, we've had, it's a great question. We've had a few of those moments, but really one of the moments that stood out to me was the first time that I came to Hong Kong. And when we opened up here in 2014, which was 4 or 5 years after we had launched the organization, I remember it was my first trip to Asia. I remember just being here and just sort of looking up and looking at the skyline and looking around and thinking to myself that just a few years before that, we were sitting on upside-down pickle buckets, scraping soap with potato peelers in a garage with this whole idea that we were going to have this global mission. And it was very hard. In the early days, it was very hard to fund the organization, to figure out how to recycle.
And the global financial crisis, it was just that time.
It was absolutely in that time. And I walked away from a very lucrative compensation and career, stock options, all of that stuff in order to go fight the bully. And so being here in Hong Kong, seeing that we were opening in Asia, looking around at all the hotels and just thinking about where we had come from a few years ago was just one of the proudest moments that I've had. And we owe a lot here in Asia to being here to a big partner of ours, Sands China, Sands Macau. They really helped us fund our establishment here. But that was just such a great, proud moment. And we've done amazing here. And so every time I come back, this is now my 8th trip since we first came out here. And every time I come back, it's just, it's more, pride, satisfaction. Love, seeing the growth of our team members and how they are taking our mission to new areas here. As a matter of fact, I've taken so many pictures this trip around to take back to the U.S. so they can see what they're doing here in Asia and how they're innovating and how they're approaching the mission and the communication and the articulation of it so wonderfully. So it's exciting. Every time I come, I get to learn something new. And that's pretty unique and cool for the founder to come out to, one of his, one of our outposts and actually get new creative ideas that they're able to do and then bring it back to the mothership. And that also speaks to the culture that we've driven at Clean the World, which is to be very innovative and to really, one of our culture lines is to have a healthy dissatisfaction of the status quo. Mm-hmm. So in a healthy, professional, respectful way, look at what the status quo is and say, maybe that's not the way we do it. Maybe we do things new. We do things different. And I think that really translates well, not just from company culture, but in terms of social entrepreneurship, in terms of doing good around the world. Have a healthy dissatisfaction for the status quo. There are new, better, fresher ways to do things. There's better ways to help people. There's more sustainable ways to help people. And so I think that's an approach that a lot of folks need to have. And I think that's really paid dividends for us at Clean the World.
Mm-hmm. Was this moment when you were sitting in this hotel room and you realized these soaps were thrown away? Because I think not a lot of people even know that this is what happens when you leave the soap there. Even if you don't open it up, right? Is that right? Even if you don't touch it?
In a lot of hotels, yes.
Even if it's still wrapped? If
it's still wrapped. In nice hotels, their policies are to replace that bar of soap every single time, every single night.
Mm. But I guess that was an important moment in your career where it kind of took a turn.
Yes.
But where if you look back a couple of more years, were there other moments in your career where you see there was some kind of growth there that back then it didn't think it would make such an impact in your career, but looking back today that was something that already kind of led the way into you starting out your own business and building something from scratch in an economical environment that was not very inviting in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question. So I started my professional career started at the age of 21. I had my first professional sales career and job, and actually was doing so well that I left college for the last time, and to this day do not have a college degree because I was very successful in selling at that time technology to trucking companies. And so over the years, I did very well at articulating a message to somebody, getting them to buy into that message, assimilating. So when I, for instance, sold trucking software, in the United States, that was to a lot of different types of people. It would be a Southern person one day. It would be someone in the Northeast, in the New York, New Jersey area. And then it would be somebody in the Northwest. It was all different types of people, types of cultures, types of reactions. And so I had to learn how to assimilate. I had to learn how to communicate, and I had to learn how to build relationships and get folks to not just buy me, but then buy what I was selling. And interestingly, when I started Clean the World, I came across this millions of bars of soap being thrown away every day and thousands of children dying every day. And if we could bring the two together, we could save their lives. For first couple of years, I wondered, why was I sort of the one to do this? I mean, I've talked to so many people, and they have said, I thought about this. I wondered what happened to the soap when I left a hotel. And if I had a nickel for every time somebody said that to me, I'd be a millionaire just on that. So many people said it, but yet I was the one that did it. And my family members in this group, we were the ones that went and did it. So I often ask myself, why did we get chosen to do this? And it started to sort of dawn on me that, and this is the social entrepreneurship piece. Yes, we have this great charitable mission. It's an environmental mission. It's a social impact mission. But the way our model is set up, hotels buy a recycling program from us. So the 5,000 hotel customers that we have, they actually have to purchase this recycling program that has a life at the end of it. We would not be in Asia right now. We would not be in Europe right now. We would not have the success we have right now if we didn't have a financial model that made sense. And as you said, this came out of 2009 when the economy globally was, in total disarray. So how do we get people to buy it? How do we get them?
Must have said they will never pay for that. Why would a hotel pay for you to get rid of their trash, right?
And initially they didn't want to pay for it. That was a challenge. And so that's when I figured out what talent I had was necessary here. I could convince people to buy something. I could sell it to them. I could sell this whole mission and this whole concept. And I had a really good business acumen and background to be able to handle the financial stuff and the operational stuff and all that. But what I was really gifted at is communicating and articulating a mission, a cause, a program, something that I'm selling. And so once we really developed the model and understood that hotels had to pay, that's really where I came in to drive the message and to drive the sale. And so it was easy for me to see, and that's social entrepreneurship. Here's this great mission that needs funding, and the way to fund it is you got to go sell something. So you got to be really good at selling and marketing and branding and all that stuff. And the better you are at that, the more soap bars stay out of landfill, the more soap bars go in the hands of those who need it, the more mothers that get a free gift of life that they would not have previously had. So that's where the business side really drives the impact side. So to me, I kind of figured it out. Okay, well, that's I'm good at articulating, communicating, and selling, the dream to somebody. Well, this dream is a dream about saving lives and about being able to do it every day out of a hotel room that simply starts when the housekeeper and the room attendant comes in and cleans the room. And that's really when our mission starts. It actually even starts before that, when the guest actually opens up the bar of soap and uses it. And so that, I think, actually had to take some skill to be able to sell that concept to somebody. Awesome. And today, 5,000 hotels running our program. We have corporate agreements with Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, Best Western, Wyndham, Sands, Caesars, Disney. So all these major corporate brands, Mandarin, Peninsula, which are great partners here in Asia, all these big corporate brands have bought that concept, and now they are paying for it, and they're doing it because they are driving the impact themselves, and they understand that that's them implementing and them driving this great global impact.
I've seen a lot of impressive numbers on one of your fact sheets. The impact that you are making, also the numbers of hotel partners you work with, volunteer hours spent, people working with Clean the World Asia. Do you also measure the impact when you look into the communities you serve? The cooperation partners in the NGO field, the Red Cross, I think, is one of your partners as well. You must have so many that then go out and distribute the soap, the programs you run in Kenya. Is there someone on site, I was wondering? Someone on site that measures or does research on what an effect does it have? Yeah,
another great question. So we have a two-tier sort of distribution model. One of them is through NGO partners, World Vision, Children International, International Red Cross, Operation Christmas Child, Doctors Without Borders. Many large NGOs who we donate truckloads of soap to. They take our product, they put it in their wash programs, so they already have programs that are dedicated to hygiene, clean water, education, and so we're giving them a very important item that previously they would have to buy. Now they get it on a donated basis, and they're able to insert it into their programming. So that's one tier of our model, and we have now started to ask them over the last 24 months to provide direct data and feedback on number of people served, cases of diarrheal disease pneumonia prior to soap distribution, after soap distribution. So we're almost approaching our soap gifts as a grant. And so when when one would receive a grant, they also have to report back on the effects, the impacts of that grant. So we do the same thing now with our soap distribution. Our second tier now is us on the ground doing our own programming. We just did the Kenya program. We have one right now in Tanzania. We're 90 days into it. We're launching one in the Philippines. We're launching one in India, and we're launching one in Haiti right now. As a matter of fact, the one in Haiti is just getting ready to start. It's thousands of school children across the northern Cape Haitian part of Haiti, and so we're very excited about when we start. We get preliminary numbers and results. We track cases of diarrheal disease. We track school truancy. We look at those things that we know we're going to impact. We also track when we give to students that are in the first grade what their reaction is versus students in the third grade versus students in the in the fifth grade. So That is our on the ground. We send our executive director of our foundation, Sam Stevens. He's traveling. He was just in India yesterday, setting up another program there. So he gets in on the ground with some of our other members of that part of the social enterprise, and they're writing out those programs and executing those programs. So on one hand, we're doing a lot of partnerships to help support their efforts, and on the other hand, we're doing our own direct programming and seeing those direct benefits. The other thing that we do too is we're very active in disaster relief situations. We just had Hurricane Matthew rip through the Caribbean. Haiti took another direct hit. We sent 500,000 bars of soap to Haiti after Hurricane Matthew and the Bahamas, which were impacted. It also came up and hit the east coast of the United States, and we sent hygiene kits to the Carolinas to help those folks. We have been active after the Nepal earthquake. We were on the ground in Nepal at the same time Doctors Without Borders was, and they were unable to get their supplies through customs quick enough, so all their soap was actually sitting back at the borders. Sam Stevens went in with duffel bags full of soap, and he was just handing bars of soap out to doctors, and the first time they were able to wash their hands between setting arms and setting legs after the earthquake was after they got the soap from Clean the World. So we're very active in the Typhoon Haiyan that came through the Philippines, the Japan earthquake, and then, of course, the Haiti earthquake. That was the January 12, 2010. The devastating earthquake in Haiti was really one of the big disasters that occurred that really helped sort of promote Clean the World, because we had been documented by major news organizations as helping, and that was really when the hospitality industry saw that and knew that in order to go help Haiti, they could be a part of the Clean the World mission. And so they actually started to come on board very quickly after that. We have since sent about 3 million bars of soap to Haiti. So that's another area. When a disaster occurs, that's the time that you need soap. When flooding happens, Pakistan, major flooding, we came in and helped. We're doing a lot right now with Syrian refugees. We're doing a lot with Somalian refugees. These are times when, for instance, folks in a refugee camp, disease spreads very quickly. Tent cities in Haiti, disease spreads very quickly. When you have massive populations, the sanitation's not very good, the water supplies are not very good, disease spreads very quickly. That's how the cholera outbreak occurred in Haiti, and we were actually the first on the ground in that area to get soap. And then, of course, when flooding happens, so when you think about the typhoons that come through the Philippines, water rises, disease spreads quickly. Again, you need to have soap. And all those studies I cited that talked about the 50% reduction of pneumonia and diarrheal disease with soap, that's all done in dirty water supplies. So you don't necessarily have to have a clean water supply in order to have the positive impact that soap makes. So during those disaster scenarios, those are really critical times for us to come in, get our soap out, and let folks continue to be healthy so that they're not at a time of high vulnerability spreading disease and pathogens, across the population.
That's amazing. Massive impact.
That's right. Yep.
Wow. I'm almost speechless, but I do have one last question.
Okay.
I would like to ask, and that is, if you have one piece of advice for all the aspiring or fellow change makers out there, what would that be?
Well, number one, when you try and focus and have a heart for helping others and for doing good, I really believe that things will go your way. I believe that you will hit challenges. You will no doubt have maybe even more challenges than others. But I really believe that if your heart is pure around being a change maker, around helping others, around doing good for society and for the environment, I really do believe that doors will open, that people will respond to it. We live in a day and age right now where there's value on social impact and on change making, and consumers are starting to put their money behind that. They want to see where products are made. They want to see the supply chain. They want to invest in companies that are helping. There's a lot of surveys out that show that companies that are promoting what they do, their social impact, are outperforming their competitors. So there's value out there. There's a currency, a human currency, and a real currency that's being applied to it. As a change maker too, when you start a business, you've got to also pay attention to the business side of it. That's very important. You have your social measurements, your impact measurements, but you've got to have your business measurements as well. And you can't be afraid to apply brain power and time and effort to making money, to hiring the best and brightest, to building financial health and sustainability. Sometimes people think, oh, it's not about making money, it's about helping others. But I will tell you definitively that the more you're able to have financial strength, the more impact you can drive. There is an exponential tie in there. The more you're able to be financially healthy, the more money you make, the more you're able to help others, the more you're able to, in our case, get more soap into the hands of those who need it and prevent more landfill waste. So change makers who are social entrepreneurs, who are social enterprises, do not forsake the business side. Think hard about the business side. Make sure that you're paying attention to it, because if you do, you will have exponential change that occurs as you endeavor about the change that you are pursuing. So hopefully that's inspiring and that helps, and that helps somebody who's listening understand that you want to have both sides of it. And again, just keep telling your story, because somebody out there is going to help you, and they're going to want to help you, and you're going to get those breaks that you need in order to accomplish what great things you are setting out to accomplish.
Definitely. Thank you so much. There was so much food for thought, and I am sure a lot of our listeners want to find out more. So I will put all your social media links, website links in the show notes. So if you scroll all the way down now, you can do it right away. Click in it, have a look, and there will be the links to all your channels.
Perfect.
So people can support, follow, and find out more about Clean the World and your amazing mission. Thank you so much, Sean, for taking the time.
Thank you, Regina. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Head over to cleantheworldasia.org to get in touch with the Clean the World team, and you can find all the links mentioned, the show notes of this episode, and also resources for your own impact journey at #impact.com/season4. Most importantly, before I let you go, don't forget to hit subscribe from wherever you're listening right now. Press that subscribe button so you can keep receiving our episodes and find more inspiration. Have a wonderful day, you all, and I talk to you very soon. Bye.